excited. Today we have Dr. Phil. Now, Dr. Phil Hill from First United Methodist Church. So how does that work for you, like Libby said, Dr. Phil?
Well, I've been called Dr. Phil a long time. I was the original Dr. Phil, and then, as I like to say, the other one was good friends with Oprah. And
yeah, okay, so this is the original Dr. Phil we have with us.
This is the real deal.
Yeah, we got the real deal today, Frankfurt.
That's right.
So, Dr. Phil, just tell us where your church is located.
Well, our church is located at 211 Washington Street. We're basically right across the street from the Paul Sawyer Library.
Okay.
And an old established church that's doing a lot of neat and exciting new things.
Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah.
So how long have you been around?
Well, the church was one of the first churches founded in Frankfurt.
Really?
Established or started actually in the 1790s, about 1796. And then the actual church, I think, was chartered in 1820. And then the building that's there now, our sanctuary, actually was built in 1856.
Wow.
So it's been
It's
around
kind of
a while.
evolved, yeah.
It sure has. And so we've embraced the historical part of that downtown area. And in 2006 we built a Christian Life Center, but it blends in and it's really a nice addition to.
It is
So what is the Christian Life Center?
Well, it houses our gym. It houses a nice place where we serve lots of meals and a commercial kitchen. It also houses our Wesley Center Day School. We have during the week, 5 days a week, we have a preschool for ages infant to 4. And
what is that called?
The Wesley Center Day School.
Okay. Because when my nieces were little, they went there, and it was called
what we call First Care.
First Care,
Yeah.
yes.
And that just
they
changed
loved
over
it.
the last year or so. And
That was
we
such
believe
a
it's good quality
It was
care.
a great
Yeah.
program,
I
yeah.
have
Sure
a 4-year-old, and I've been looking for a place, but she'll miss that because she turns 5 in September. So.
Okay, so tell us your service times, Dr. Phil. Now, you have a 2 service in the morning?
We actually have 3 services. We have a traditional service at 8:30, and then at 9 o'clock in another part in our Christian Life Center, in the Wesley Center we call it, we have called Good News at 9, GNN.
Oh,
And that's an hour-long contemporary worship kind of service. And then Sunday school follows that at 10 to 11, and then at 11 o'clock we have another traditional service in our sanctuary.
So if you wanted to get up and come at 8:30, you can,
Come.
or come at 9, or come at
Come at 11.
11. So that's
11.
that's broad. So
Right.
that's good. So there's no excuse for
For missing,
people
that's
for
right.
missing. So what about on Sunday night?
Well, on Sunday night we reserve that for a lot of our meetings for our different groups. We have a program called Stephen Ministries, and that group meets, and then of course our youth meet.
And tell
on
us
Sunday
about
nights.
the Stephen ministry.
Yeah.
Well, the Stephen Ministry is a lay-led outreach ministry to those that are in need. Oftentimes those that are grieving. It's where a layperson would come alongside a widow or a widower, and men with men and women with women. And it's a very thoroughly trained lay people.
So when you say lay, just explain to Frankfurt
well,
what that
they're
would-
not clergy.
They're not clergy,
They're not
so they're
clergy.
just people in the church. And so,
Right.
so you know what, I'm going to say just right off the bat, Frankfurt, you know, if you're looking for a church that you feel that you want to be used in and worked in, and you want to help other people, come on down to First United and join them and get hooked up and get in the training. And if you feel that love to go out and to nurture someone and to love them, you'd be more glad to have that, wouldn't you?
So
Absolutely.
you don't have to have a license to love people.
No, you don't have to have a license to love people.
Just a
That's
heart.
right.
So this is
So it's a good opportunity, and it's been a I don't know, a great thing of encouragement for those who are really struggling with grief or maybe divorce or some crisis that might be going on, illness. It is so comforting to have these persons to come alongside and offer their skilled help.
It is.
It really good.
I know in grief a lot of people deal with that. And at any age, I mean, even if you're older and you lost your spouse, you can be so lonely.
Absolutely.
But even, you know I lost my mother and it was just, I went through a hard grief, so that program could help lots
Absolutely,
of people. Yeah.
absolutely.
Especially,
And we do a lot of that.
yeah, especially the death of a child.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
That's overwhelming.
Mhm.
It really
That
is.
is.
Yes.
Mhm.
So what other ministries do you have going on in your church? Right? You have a women's, men's,
We do have many women's groups that meet all ages. And they not only meet to encourage each other, but certainly to do
social activities.
spiritual growth, Bible knowledge, that kind of thing, but also mission work outside the church, helping a lot of the local ministries that work around Frankfurt. King Center, Simon House, Food Pantry, Soup Kitchen, and those kinds of things. So we have both women's and men's groups. And then, of course, our youth group, we have a huge youth group.
Yes, let's talk about that. We really need, there's so many churches that doesn't have a youth group.
Right.
And in my understanding, you all have a nice youth group. And
we're very blessed.
Yeah, you keep people busy. So let's tell Frankfurt who your youth pastors are.
Well, Greg and Missy Hardison are our youth ministers. And they've been with us about a year now. And when we all started, I've just been in Frankfurt for about, a year this month. And so when we all began about a year ago, we only had like 3 or 4 youth in our program. And I said a church the size of First United Methodist Church got to have a better youth program than that. So anyway, Missy and Greg came on board, and they have just absolutely energized our young people. We have they call themselves First Spark. And it's basically that whole thing to get us, you've heard that song, it only takes a spark to get a fire going. These folks have got a blaze going. We now have about 50 in our youth group.
Oh my!
It's really grown.
So what age is the youth group?
6th through 12th grade.
6th through 12th grade. So I want to say, if you have a child and they need to be in the church, but if you're looking for a youth group, I know kids that's in this youth group, it's really good. It's changed their lives, and it's just, they do a lot of, it's just not always churchy. It's fun things too.
Right.
Yes, it's fun.
Well, and one of the exciting things that I want to brag on Greg about, Greg is the education director at the Kentucky History Center.
Oh.
And, but Greg actually was trained as a clown. He went to Barnum and Bailey School.
Really? Cool.
That is so fun.
You know, a lot of youth groups today, they do electronic games, and you know, I hear churches say, "Oh, what we need to do is a room full of weeds." You know, well, Greg takes his clown training and does things with the kids that, and in a very safe manner. But they do acrobatics.
Oh.
And they, for an example, we did a wonderful Christmas program. Our music director is David Goins, and he and Greg put their heads together, and they put together a program called Miraculum. And during that Christmas program, we had youth on stilts who were angels, and they were 10 feet high in the air. We had these silks that hung from the ceiling, and the youth would climb those some way and do twirling.
Can we come down and be in the youth?
It was powerful.
That sounds like fun.
It was a really fun thing.
And what else? Tell us, that was neat.
It's just part of that whole thing of celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, and it just demonstrated an alive kind of world at that point, you know. And anyway, so there's just lots of good things. Of course, they do the normal things. They go on trips. They've been to our church camp in Lake Junaluska, North Carolina. Just got back. They're going to go to Kings Island. They do things like that. But every week on Wednesdays and Sundays, they spend some good quality time in wrestling with some of the issues that young people deal with. And Greg and Missy, your relationship building, with one another and with Jesus Christ. Our feeling is that it's kind of like the spokes on a wheel, on a bicycle wheel. You know, at the outside they're kind of far apart. But if God is at the center, as you grow closer to the Lord, and these spokes represent your life, you grow closer to one another.
Yes.
And so that's kind of where we are, and we've seen some great relationships built. I will say this, we entered into an agreement with St. Paul United Methodist Church, which is our sister church, and they have a wonderful facility out there, a smaller church than ours, but we decided the two churches came together and said, well, why don't we just do one youth group? We can grow
That's
from
good,
that.
and that's uniting.
And
yeah.
it is. And we've got the best relationship, and we appreciate the people at St. Paul
Sure,
United Methodist Church, because they're very supportive of this youth group as well.
Until we all come into the unity of the faith.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it's all
It
about.
is
We've
one.
been so spread out and separated for so long. And, you know, and I have seen, probably over the last year, people becoming more and more open to not being threatened by other ministries. They are really trying to embrace smaller ministries, larger ministries embracing smaller ministries, vice versa, and not feeling so threatened. Because nobody's out to steal people. We're out to keep people from the alternative.
Well, if you look at Frankfurt, what, about 7% of the people actually attend church on Sunday morning. So there are a lot of folks out there who are not. And they need the Word of God.
And that's one reason that God told us to do this program, is because it was time for people to come back home, and so bring churches on and let people see what kind of churches it is, and be like, hey, well, I like Dr. Phil. Or, I have a youth that really needs God, and this man, I don't know how young Greg is, but that man just seems, he would be fun, because we got to have that. So this is what the program's about, is bringing people home, and it's time to come back home to God.
It is.
He took a natural gift that he had
Mm-hmm.
and let God just get all over it.
Yes.
And inspire these young people to go on and dream and be involved, and it's fun.
Every member in that youth group participates in some way. We've got some kids that are not athletic, if you will.
Well, sure.
I don't mean
Not
that word,
everybody
but you understand what I'm saying.
do backflips.
But they've developed another side to that, where they have their own news crew, just like your news crew.
Really?
And they videotape, and then they put together, and they have usually about a weekly video they put on YouTube during the school
Oh,
year.
that is cool.
So, and it's very good. Yeah.
So there's something for everybody.
So where, do you know how to get to that on YouTube?
Just look up, I think it's called First Spark, the First United Methodist Church. And you'll find they just did a huge video to that song, Happy,
Oh, yeah.
And it really was fun. It did a great
So
job.
it's really great. And, that's teaching them to really be in the ministry.
Oh,
They're in the
absolutely.
ministry, and whatever their talents is, maybe is anybody juggling yet?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
That
And
is so fun.
twirling, they do, I call it gymnastic dance.
Yeah, well, that is
They do all that
good,
kind of
yes.
stuff. So very interpretive, and it's all to the glory of the Lord.
Yes,
Sure.
it
And
is.
that's just one small area of what they're doing.
But God created it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the enemy has nothing creative in him. I mean, God created it all, so that's great.
And I want to talk about this, the dance. It's coming back, and I don't know if it ever went away, but it's really getting into churches, the dance for the young adults or even the adults, but it's so godly that I see. It's not anything, makes me think of that movie, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Footloose, and they dance, but not that. The dance today, I just want to tell Frankfurt, if you haven't seen the young people do any kind of interpreted dance, you need to see it.
It's
Because it's
beautiful.
just the glory of God, and it's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and it is so expressive. I mean, it truly can touch your heart and take you to a new level in your spiritual walk. It really can.
Yes, and it can be a worship.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, just watching it, you just really forget about the music in the background, and you see the person, but you don't actually see the person. You just see the beautiful movements and the expressions, and it just ushers in the Holy Spirit. It's beautiful.
First United Methodist Church over the years has been really strong in the arts. Roy Nance was our director of music for a lot of years, and brought a lot of good ideas, and David has continued that tradition. David Goins has, and taken it to even a newer, another level. And it's just been so exciting to be a part of that and watch, these expressions of, the first thing of our purpose statement is to glorify God.
Yes.
And that's what we want to do.
Why don't you read the...
Well, our purpose at First United Methodist Church is to glorify God by connecting people to Jesus Christ through what we call spiritual nourishment and dynamic outreach. Spiritual nourishment is Bible study, growing, learning about the church, learning our doctrines and so on, but also how that relates to our everyday life.
Right.
And then basically going out from the church, out into the world, both local and around the globe, to do ministry. We have a team that has now become more of an ecumenical team, but started in our church that annually they go to Honduras and do a medical mission there. And they've been doing that now for about, I want to say about 12, 13 years or so. We had 36 people just go this past spring.
That's awesome.
And had a great mission. They treated over 7,000 people in 1 week's time.
Oh my goodness.
So they did a lot of hard work.
Yes, that is a work.
So that's exciting. And so, you know, there's just a lot of expressions of ministry. We have another ministry called Cinderella's Closet, started by one of our young ladies in the church.
And what is it?
Well, Cinderella's Closet is where we collect formal gowns and things for girls. We get shoes and handbags and all the accessories. And then on that day when we give them out, girls come literally
This
from all
would be
around.
like for the prom.
Prom,
or
exactly, yeah.
So this is for prom day.
And they'll come from all over the state, and it's kind of fun to watch because the ladies in our church become their fairy godmothers, if you will. And the moms will come in with their daughter, and they'll say, "Now, Mom, you go sit down over here because you're not going with us."
Yeah.
And they let the girls select their dress without any pressure.
So that's
And-
wonderful.
And it's a great thing. We I don't know the numbers on it, but what a powerful ministry. Watch these girls who thought they couldn't afford to go to a prom.
Right. So do you take donations for formal
We
wear?
do. Yeah,
Oh,
people are bringing
okay.
dresses to our office all the time.
That's
Yeah.
That
good
is,
to know.
and it's that's so heartwarming to me because it's just always a concern of mine. You know, when prom comes and everybody can afford to go out and get these big dresses, and then there's people that
Can't
can't,
afford
and
it.
it just breaks my heart. So
Well, I just add this real quickly. I don't mean to interrupt, but
it's fine.
you take. We have a lot of ladies in our church who sew, and so they bring their sewing machines.
Oh
And
my.
all around the building there are
And
these
they
seamstresses, and they just treat these girls like they're the queen for the day.
That is beautiful.
That just really, that
It's
almost
powerful.
makes me cry
It's
after you
powerful. It really is.
feel.
that not only is that's an emotional ministry, because you get young girls in there who have such a low confidence level.
Absolutely.
And when they're trying to go from one department store to another, trying to find this dress, but
Well-
if you get someone like you said, a fairy godmother who will come in and just love on them, help build their confidence, even if their dress is a little too tight. Well, we have someone right here on
And
site
fix it.
that
Absolutely.
can fix this, no problem. You're just a beautiful. I mean, they're
You're
beautiful.
And that's why
no
the
matter
girls
what.
often come in, their heads are down, you know, and they're like,
I
oh,
bet they don't
gosh.
leave that way.
But they leave. It's just
That's
like,
right.
you know, they're so excited, and that's a good thing. That gives me goosebumps.
It
just
does
telling
me
you
too. That I just want to continue on with that. So now, how do you get into that program? Now I know that every church has to have limits, and you can't have like thousands. But I mean, how does the people of Frankfurt or the girls of Frankfurt that maybe can't afford it need to be in this program? What do they do?
Well, Amy Nance, who is the director of that, just gets the word out to the local schools. She starts certainly with Frankfurt area high schools, Franklin County, Frankfurt High School, and Western Hills, and moves out from there. And it's pretty much open to those who decide they've got a need. I don't know that they really go through a screening process per se, but we've never had, we never felt like we had anybody that was just to rip us off. It was a beautiful thing every time. And God's really in that.
Yes, I can feel it because
Yeah,
when
I
you
can
just
too.
started talking about it, I could just feel the loving presence of that. So I want to say to Frankfurt that if you have prom dresses and they're hanging in your closet, and bring them to First United Methodist Church.
Even formal dresses.
Or even
Absolutely.
formal
Just
dressing.
formal dresses.
Or, dresses that you went to be in a wedding in. Bridesmaid
And,
dresses.
and the shoes, purses, little
Shoes,
purses.
yes, and purses, and maybe jewelry.
Jewelry.
Bring that in. And then if you're a person that, you've been thinking, maybe I know school hasn't started yet, and you're already thinking, I'm going to be a senior and the prom's coming, just remember this. That you can go down to Cinderella's Closet and they will help you find a dress.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
do they have a Prince Charming section?
No,
too?
unfortunately not.
See, they need to get that going now.
No, I think it's more important for the girls. Can I come down and just try dresses on?
Absolutely.
Makes
Absolutely.
you feel special, though.
I know, and that would make you feel
Oh,
special.
and it does. And it just, last year was my first year, or the spring was my first time to experience that. And the people in church kept saying, you just got to experience it. There's no way to describe it. And I was just overwhelmed. I could not believe it. it was just so heartwarming.
Maybe we could take the camera down there next time it happens. And
Maybe
just
we
so.
can.
take
Yeah,
a few clips and
yeah.
let the,
That'd be nice.
and let the
We'll
public
write that
see.
down. Write that down so we can do that, because that would be neat. And get the girls' permission and just
Of
let
course,
us see
yeah.
Oh,
and just
to
yeah.
get it
some
more out there, because that's just so beyond.
That's magical.
Well, I tell you, I don't tell the story near as well as our director, Amy Nance, does, but the stories that she can tell you about girls who have come and just
Sure.
truly, for the best part, changed their lives.
Yeah.
Just because somebody said, we love you and we'll take
Yes.
the time to help you.
Yeah.
So,
Beautiful.
Well,
Beautiful.
wonderful.
Beautiful.
I want to say this, if you don't mind, Dr. Phil. If you drive by and you see that big church and you're just maybe intimidated a little bit, don't be. Because you know what, when you meet Dr. Phil, you just feel so relaxed and so
Yeah.
comfortable.
Good.
And I'm sure that they have, conservative worship, and they have
Sure.
contemporary. So don't feel that way when you walk by, because I can tell you this man is just full of laughter and fun, and he's good. So just get in there, because you'll have a good
You're very
time.
kind, thank you.
So what other programs do you have?
Well, like I said, we have our men's and women's programs of outreach and so forth. We're also involved with in the United Methodist Church denomination, we're involved with other ministries. We call it Volunteers in Mission, and they're always at work building I start to say in faraway places, but not always.
Yeah.
We have a huge mission field in eastern Kentucky called the Redbird Mission,
That's good.
and we work there.
You build houses. For
Build
people
houses
who've
down
lost.
there,
I think
right.
my husband actually went on one of those trips.
Those
with,
work there
with
trips?
some-
Yep.
It helped
Mhm.
reconstruct a home that
But-
had been lost in a bad storm.
Well, that down in Liberty, West Liberty,
Yes.
down in that area,
Yeah.
and then just the impoverished areas of eastern Kentucky.
Right.
We go down there and help them, build everything from roofs to maybe an extra room on a house or something like that. Reaching out to those folks, and that's been a good experience. And also, we have United Methodist Church has one agricultural mission in the United States, and it's right here in Kentucky,
Wow.
down near Pineville, Kentucky,
Okay.
called the Henderson Settlement. And they do the same thing. They have working teams, not only work in the farm, but you can work in housing and that kind of thing. So
Right.
there's some of the areas, just a few of the areas. I mean, I could go on for days and
Right.
days, but
Dr. Phil, of course, I have a wonderful church and I love it, but just sitting here and hearing about your church and what you do, it really excites me. It
Good.
makes me
Yeah.
believe that, there's churches that's out there that's still going and doing and helping people and helping the poor, because that was really what God said, help the poor and the orphans and the widows. And
well, and that's our goal. I mean, we want to fulfill that, certainly the Great Commission. We think a great commandment, go into all the world, and the Great Commission is what makes a great church. And we have jail ministry, both for men and women. We have people in our church who go to the jail and minister to them and share not only the Word of God, but just share the love with them. And like I said, I can just go on and on about different things that are happening.
Right.
So this is your bulletin that, at the church, and what we'll do is that we'll hold it up, but we'll do a close-up of it. But so you have this every week.
Oh, we do.
And so it just tells everything that you
Those
do.
things that we're doing, and this is kind of the order of worship, and then it has has some of our announcements, different things that are going on during the week, and like tonight while we're here recording this, we have a program called Dining for Women, and it's women in the community just want to get together, have a little meal, potluck meal.
More
Just talk about-
spiritually social
Yeah.
event.
And that's at your church?
That's at our church,
And is
right.
that for the ladies in your church?
It's for the ladies,
And-
part of the church.
And can people in the community come if they want?
They can. I'm not sure the exact time that it meets, but they can call the church office.
Yes, we'll
and let us
have
know
that.
Yeah.
So you really have lots of programs, and so I would say that, just call the church and see what they have, because I would say that they just probably have about everything.
Just about
you need.
anything you want to
Do you do counseling?
I do some. Yeah, not probably. I'll say not long-term counseling. You know,
Just short term.
but usually short-term and crisis counseling we do. Yeah.
So, Libby, let me ask you. Go ahead and ask your favorite
I know, I've
question.
been over here just. I like to get personal. I like to know where people come from and how they got started in the ministry. So, I mean, you're a man of wisdom. I can already hear that, and it sounds like you've been in this for a long time. But I would love to know how God got you started.
Well,
What's your fire? What sparked you?
Yeah.
okay, well, honestly, my mother was a Methodist, and my dad was a Quaker. And when they got married, my dad decided he'd just go be a Methodist with my mom, and so they could go together. And from the time I was born, I was raised in the church, and never really knew anything but the church. I was, youth group and all the way through.
Things were different then, though.
Yeah, it was very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what she's wanting, now when did you really feel, and we're going to have to talk quick,
Okay.
when did you feel that you got your call?
Well, I'll tell you, in
Yeah.
1968, I was working in the basement of my mom and dad's house with my dad. We had a wood shop down there. And he was sawing this big board, and he flipped it off, and he just paused, and he looked at me, and he said, "Phil, do you think God's calling you to go to ministry?" And I just looked at him and said, "What?" And but the long story short was, over the next several years, I wrestled with that call. Talked to my pastors about it, and really wrestled with it. Anyway, in my senior year, I basically made that commitment, and went to college with that goal. Went to seminary, and as I said, the rest is history.
But I like what you said, even though that your dad asked you. You just didn't jump in it and say, you wrestled with it, you prayed, you talked, and you finally come to your own conclusion.
Absolutely.
That you were called.
You have to know that you're called.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, listen, guys, it's been so much fun with Dr. Phil. I don't want to let him go, but time is up.
Wow.
So, Dr. Phil, we just want you to, let everybody take a few minutes and just look in the camera and just take 2 or 3 minutes. And if you go too long, I might have to go like this.
Okay.
And just tell Frankfurt what you want them to know about your church. And
Well, I would say this. I would say that First United Methodist Church is a place that is open and it welcomes people. In fact, our motto is open hearts, open minds, and open doors. And we want to welcome everybody into our church. We're not a church for everybody, and we know that. But we believe that God has a place for everybody, and we really want to embrace that. Part of our purpose statement, as you heard, was connecting people to Jesus Christ. And we believe that the closer we are connected to Christ, the closer we can be connected to each other. It's about building relationships to walk through this thing called life. And so we would certainly invite you to come and be a part of our church.
well, praise God. Well, this is Table Talk.
Till next time. God bless.